Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. May Jesus Christ bless you. I want to have a bit of a conversation today about my dog, Tank. And I'd hate to say it, you kind of feel like a bit of a government. And you almost think like all the aspects of your life, unless it lobbies to get your attention, you just don't place focus on it. And it's no different with dogs. So, Tank's just been what Tank is, and it is what it is. But in regards to my little journey with Tank of late, especially this last 12 months, I can tell you right now, I reckon he's dodged about 6 bullets. What are those bullets? Taking him to the vet to get him put down. And just wasn't ever getting better. And I'm like, I don't want to make this decision lightly. Like the last conversation I had with him was a pretty heavy conversation because he tried to rip the face off one of my new pups, and I was like, why are you doing this? You got to stop this bullshit behaviour. Anyway, I got into contemplation and observing his behaviour, and just, because all animals are creatures of habits, and I've been observing his habits, and I had to think about, what role I've played, but also what role he is playing, but also the demotion that he has gone through since the very beginning. Not promotions, demotions essentially. And, what would the demotion be all about, amongst other things? Well, they're guard dogs, they've got to look after the bloody chooks, And, in regards to that, let's go looking for one of these bloody screws that disappeared. What a great distraction. In regards to that, I had to kick him outside because he was fat, dumb and happy laying on the bed all day. Chooks were getting eaten by the fox. So I was like, well, my issue is I can't have chooks where I live because the foxes keep eating him. So I was like, well, he's got to go outside. So he's like, well, there's a demotion. And then, I've got the African Mastiff, so I've had to get 2 of them. One died on me and the other one I had to put down. But like with those demotions as well, he's just like not really feeling that special anymore, and he's clinging hold of what he can cling hold of. And it's like, that's fine. So he got to the point where he's sleeping in my vehicle all day, and I'm like, so there's a bigger issue going on and I can't pinpoint it, and this is why I have to go to the full level of responsibility to do all I can to ensure that if there is an issue, it's stomped out first before any decision is made. It's interesting, isn't it? So I took him to the vet, and I spoke to the vet, and as I was speaking to the vet, mentioning what I've said because it's frustrating, jealousy is one of the most frustrating things you'll ever come across. It wears you out, it really does. And then when they get depressed and all the rest of it, and you put on 6 kilos with it, and you're like, what's going on? And the long and short of it is animals don't self-regulate, so it's my job. You change the way you look at the world changes. But if I don't figure it out, they ain't going to figure it out. My job is to establish an environment for them to be able to function in properly. And then if I establish an environment which works for him, then I've got to make sure that it's synchronistic with the environment of the other pets so they have a cohesion. So there was something I've been observing between him and the other pets. This is real Caesar Milan shit, because sometimes you don't need the medication, right? There was a coexistence issue. It's not sociability. It was a coexistence issue, and I was like, well, what the hell's really going on here? There's a much larger problem that needs to be dealt with. So I was looking at the beds, and I was like, oh, it's the bloody bed. So with the bed, the 2 new pups that I've got, they like his bed, and it seems like everyone likes his bed, and Tank's just like, fuck, I can't even have my own bed anymore. He's like, I used to sleep in the master's bed, and now I can't even have my own bed. It's at the point where I'm about to sleep in the dirt. So he's just like clinging on to what little's left. That's fair enough. How can I complain about that? And unfortunately I'll never be able to make it up to him because he was just doing what Tank does, being Tank. Anyway, so after talking to the vet, great common sense conversation, and look, the long and short of it is the type of breed that he is and all the rest of it, and the possessiveness that's going on, if it was possessiveness, amongst other things. Got 2 weeks of medication to put him on. The medication was to kind of take him offline whilst that wasn't the original intention. It was an anxiety medication, right? And it wasn't until I got the medication and put him on it, because I hate medication. But the long and short of it is, when you're at wit's end, it's like, well, let's have a look at one last option. So I got him on, I gave him half a tablet of the new medication, and it took him offline, and I was like, you know what? Since I can see that the bed's the problem and I've got him offline, how about I take him offline for a couple of weeks? You know, just put him out with the ferries for a couple of weeks, re-establish a new routine, and everything will disappear, right? So I went and got 3 more beds that are the same as his bed, because I thought if I've got three dogs, I may as well give them 4 beds, right? So there's always a spare bed. I spent all day clearing out the bloody dog house, you know, to the point where I got it back to the bed, vacuumed, polished clean essentially. It's got the lovely smell and everything in there, like, it's good enough for a human to live in, sort of thing. And I cleared out all the old cages and all the old living gear from the old dogs and all the rest of it, and washed all the main blankets, because they've all got a blanket each. I can't believe how many bloody blankets there were because of the 3 big dogs that I had, right? Anyway, so I didn't need to get new bedding or anything. All I needed to do was just get the new beds. Clams, you know those clam shells? Those little kids' sand pits? Best dog beds, because they keep the moisture out of the bedding. And it's like a nest. They want a nest, they don't want a kennel. So you get them inside of a shed, which is a nursery, you give them a clam, it's like a nest. So all of a sudden the nursery is just a handful of nests. Right, so everything's all vacuumed, smelling beautiful with the air fresheners and all the rest of it. Got the bedding in place, got all their toys in their little milk crate. I've even got a suspender bed in there, so if they can have a little holiday sleep outside of one of their beds. And got all the toys in the milk crate, so it's just organised, it's clean, it's great, and last night, let him out of the vehicle, and he walks in there and he's like, it's not about his bed, it's about his blanket. Isn't it interesting that as much as the bed, the blanket, because the bed itself, it was a special thing that I figured out what was Tank after anyway. So he went straight to the bed that had his blanket in it, even though it's a new bed, and it's in a particular position. It's like a grandfather chair, don't touch my chair. And he went straight to his bed, and I was like, that's cool. Gave him a bit of a pat, and I was like, good boy, I've got him offline. I can't be anything other than like good boy, because I've got him on his medication. Anyway, so here I am at this point proactively thinking, cool, I've got him offline, let's do a new routine. And the issue has been, one to do with bed possessiveness and the other to do with food. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, so I pull the food out, and I give them all their positions to try and feed their food. And what's the one thing that happens when I give Tank his food? The fucking white dog comes over to try and take his food out of his bowl. Caught him in the act. Next, that night, right on dark, when I went out to go and give him a pat good night, the white dog, I went to put him in one of the new beds, he wouldn't sit down. And the moment that I let him go, he went over to Tank's bed to try and get into Tank's bed. That's when Tank snapped at him and it all hit me. Tank's got the shits because the fucking dog's got no boundaries. There's nothing wrong with Tank. What a roller coaster it's been for months to figure out that Tank's bloody problem is like, for whatever reason, I mean, we're talking like hierarchical stuff, so in regards to it, I am the centre of Tank's world, the chooks are the centre of the pup's world. Different animals. They coexist at night to sleep together, because I don't want a dog that swims out in a dam and smells like mud to be sleeping inside making my house smell like shit. So they all sleep outside. That just is what it is, alright? So where we're at right now is, Tank wasn't the problem, he was merely pointing out the issue, and I had to find the solution, and the solution is, the bloody white pup that I got, he was abused before I got him, I know that, and then with that, like he's worse than those bloody coyotes. When I got him, he wouldn't even eat out of a bowl. But beyond a bowl, he has to try everyone else's food. He's just got no boundaries. And so the job's not Tank. Tank's pretty easy fixed. Like, you put your food in the right position, he'll eat it. You give him 5 minutes, he knocks it down, that's it, you put it away. The problem is the bloody coyote dog that wants everyone's bed and everyone's food. And You know, by all means, I don't know what to do now if I see Tank flogging, because I now know that that's the problem. They all get all their food, and they've all got a bed each, plus a spare bed. So what you got to do when it comes to jealousy, for example, is it shouldn't exist in my reality because there is an overabundance of everything. But there was one thing that I was missing, and it was the bedroom. And I didn't realise that Tank, he was sitting on the throne, and everyone wanted the throne. Anyway, so now there's 4 thrones there. There's nothing to fight over. This morning, I walk into the kitchen. They're all sitting outside sleeping together in the sun. Unbelievable. So for me, I can't believe I resorted to medication because I didn't take that step to actually resolve what I knew was the practical environment issue first. His anxiety was the fact that there was a dog that didn't know its boundaries, but the long and short of it is that happened to him with the masties and everything. They all wanted his bed, so it's my issue because I didn't change the way I was looking at things. They all wanted the same bloody bed. Pragmatic application. We need to have common sense and look at things and go, rightio, what's the bigger issue here? Medication, too often, it's just a band-aid for the butt. See, the only reason I looked at it, I was like, you know what? Because I was going to fix the issue anyway, which was the bedding. And with the bedding, I was going to take him offline to give a new routine to then bring him back online. But there was no need for it. It just turns out it was the white dog with no boundaries. Before you point the finger and judge, it's so bloody important to research, to really self-reflect. Am I missing something within myself here? But also have a look at the behaviour of the pack and go, rightio, what's really going on here? Because there is a much larger issue going on, and once you hit it, bang, disappears, all's back to normal. I don't think it's a great deal of, like, animals know what they are. Well, actually, no, I can't say that. Some animals, it's like Satan himself has used them as an avatar, honestly, but like when you get a good dog, they know what they're supposed to do, and like, they've got the centre of their universe, whatever theirs is. So, like, in my world, it's clear. I'm the centre of Tanks, Chook's at the centre of the pups. They coexist together at night to sleep, and they all get along fine. It was just a single issue, which was the white dog didn't know his boundaries. So it's because I got sick of what was going on with Tank for so long, I didn't realise that he was trying to point out there's a fucking problem, and now I've got to be responsible for him and make up to him the fact that I neglected not to see what was really going on. Because the long and short of it is, it was the jealousy that I was sick of. I hate jealousy, but then what I've got to learn to understand is that jealousy is a pinpointing sign of a bigger issue that needs to be dealt with, and it's an environmental problem that the individual itself does not know how to regulate. So jealousy is a reaction for an environmental issue that needs to be rectified in order to create cohesion once more. May God bless you. Jesus loves you. Nice little lesson, eh? Have a good day. Bye for now.